If Dexter were to lose his temper, not even Natasha could help him. "Hey, bastard. What did you just say? I don't think I heard you right. Say it again if you dare." Dexter's expression darkened. He gnashed his teeth and shot daggers out his eyes. "I said, you're nothing but an incompetent and incapable spoiled brat who misuses your family's influence and power to mistreat others. Have I made myself clear now? Did you hear well?" Dustin asked. The moment he said that, everyone began to have the same thought. There, he's done it. There's no hope for him anymore. Ha ha ha. Dexter suddenly began laughing. It started as a soft laugh and gradually grew louder and more maniacal. The onlookers felt their skin crawl, and they reflexively moved away to distance themselves. Dexter was known to be very temperamental, with impulsive mood changes. When his signature laughter appeared, it meant there was bound to be blood soon. "You're quite ballsy, aren't you, rascal?" After Dexter was done laughing, his expression instantly darkened. "All these years, no one has ever dared to speak to me like that. Incompetent and incapable, you say? Very well, you shall pay for what you said today with your life." As he spoke, his hand reached for the gun on his waist. "Dexter, I'm warning you, you better not act rashly." Natasha stepped in front of Dustin and shielded him. She continued frostily, "Dustin's mine. If you dare hurt him, I'll never let you off." "What?" Dexter frowned, his expression turning from bad to worse. "Natasha Harmon, do you know what you're saying? Are you going against me for this boy toy of yours? So what if I'm going against you? Do you really think that you're above the law?" Natasha wasn't intimidated by him. Dexter's reputation might be able to scare the average person, but it wasn't going to scare her. "Me. I'll forget what you said because you're a woman." Then, gritting his teeth, he turned his malicious gaze on Dustin. "Hey, rascal, weren't you very gutsy just a while ago? What are you doing hiding behind a woman now? If you've got what it takes, take me up on a match and let's settle this between us like real men." "You're no match for me," Dustin said calmly. "Fuck. You're pretty arrogant, aren't you?" Dexter continued angrily. "I'm a 4-star marshal who excels in both martial arts and academics. Who the hell are you to look down on me? So what if you're a 4-star marshal? Haven't you achieved all that you have because you have the entire Fallon family backing you up? Do you really think that you'd be able to enjoy such glory without your family's support?" Dustin huffed disdainfully. He had seen his fair share of spoiled scions like Dexter. They all tend to think they were all that just because they were in positions of power. But they had only gotten those positions because of their family's influence. In truth, they were just useless trash. "You asshole. Do you dare take me up on my challenge?" Dexter roared in frustration. "If you don't, then get down on your knees and beg for forgiveness. Admit publicly before everyone here that you're a wimp. I might let you walk away with your life." "Fine. If you insist on being beaten up, that's what you'll get today. It'll also serve as a lesson to teach you not to be too full of yourself." Dustin appeared calm and composed. "Sure. I'd like to see what you're made of." Dexter huffed in contempt as he took off his jacket and tossed it to his subordinates. Then, he made his way up the stage. The performers on the stage immediately dispersed and got off the stage. "Are you really going to fight him, dear?" Natasha asked. "Violence is the only way to communicate with brutes like him. There's no point saying anything else. I'll just have to beat him into submission before he'll listen to what we say," Dustin commented. "You've got a point there." Natasha nodded. "But please be careful." "What? Are you afraid that I'd lose?" Dustin asked with a chuckle. "Of course not." Natasha rolled her eyes. "What I mean is for you to go easy on him. Don't batter him up too badly, or things will get messy." Natasha knew very well what Dustin was capable of, and he was more than capable of dealing with Dexter. The only problem was Dexter had the Fallon family behind him, and they were one of the ancient houses. They'd end up in a sticky situation if things got out of hand. "Don't worry, I'm just teaching him a lesson so he knows to back off. He'll be fine." Dustin smiled. But of course, if Dexter doesn't get the message, he couldn't blame Dustin for taking things up a notch. "Hey, bastard. Why are you stalling down there? Get your ass up here now." Dexter stood imposingly on the stage, giving off a ferocious presence. He stood at a height of 6'3" with a buff and well-built physique. His threatening expression made him look truly formidable. "What's the rush? Are you in such a hurry to meet your maker?" Dustin shot him a cold glance before slowly making his way up the stage. His actions elicited hushed whispers among the crowd. Isn't the guy a bit too bold? He actually has the gall to go on stage to take Dexter up on his challenge. Dexter's a decent fighter. It'd be a futile attempt to fight someone like him in a match. Though it's a courageous act to fight to defend his woman, I still say he's bringing trouble upon himself. He should have known his place. Wouldn't it have been better if he just behaved and played the part of the boy toy that he was? Why did he have to pretend to be all tough and insult Dexter? He'll regret it when he ends up injured. The guests sighed and shook their heads at Dustin. From how they saw it, Dustin's actions were no different from seeking out death. He originally had Natasha defending him, so he'd be all right if he just yielded to Dexter. He could have just pretended like nothing had happened. But because of his ego, he had to offend Dexter. Now, he was stuck in a difficult situation with no way out. He might even lose his life. What a fool. Wouldn't it have been better to just cower behind Ms. Harmon? This is what he gets for trying to be the hero, Cody sneered. He overestimates himself. Just because he's trained in martial arts, he thinks he's fit to go up against a 4-star marshal. He's really seeking trouble. Harper gloated. The two stood side by side, watching Dustin make his way up on the stage. They looked at him like he was already dead. They had been madly jealous of him when they learned that Natasha liked him. But now, there was no need for that anymore. He didn't have much time left to live anyway. This is your final chance, rascal. Get on your knees, beg for forgiveness, and get the hell away from Natasha. I will spare you only if you do that. Dexter stood on the stage with his hands behind his back. His expression was cold, and his gaze was sharp. He looked confident that he would win. And I'd say the same to you. Quit harassing Natasha, or I'll beat you up real bad, Dustin answered. You asshole. Let's see if you're still so gutsy when death stares you in the face. Dexter couldn't hold it in any longer, and he flew into a rage. With a quick leap, he launched himself through the air and threw Dustin a hard punch. His punch was aimed right at Dustin's face. He packed enough force into it to shatter the hardest rocks. He had always won during military combat. So, dealing with a weak boy toy was a piece of cake. However, Dustin did not flinch, nor did he duck when Dexter's attack came straight at him. Instead, he raised his hand and caught Dexter's fist in his palm. The two collided with a dull thud. Dustin stood there unmoving. He wasn't the least bit affected. Dexter, however, was astonished. He had disbelief written all over his face. When his punch made contact with Dustin's palm, he felt like his fist had simply melted into his palm. It did not even seem to create an impact. He had always boasted of his strength. But it was completely ineffective against Dustin. How was that possible? If this is all you've got, you better admit defeat, Dustin said casually. You're really asking for it now. Anger replaced the embarrassment that Dexter felt. He summoned all the internal energy he had within him. Then, in one swift motion, he threw another punch straight at Dustin's chin. The force of it was shocking, having increased many folds from his first attack. How pig-headed. Dustin shook his head and sidestepped Dexter's blow. At the same time, he reached out to grab Dexter's wrist and gave it a light tug. Dexter lost his balance and staggered forward. Dustin stretched his foot out at just the right time, causing Dexter to stumble. He ended up falling forward. Then, with a loud crash, Dexter fell and planted his face on the ground. Gone was his magnificent and formidable image.